All right, let's get started. I want to talk today about something that I have named the Self-Sabotage Cha-Cha. And what is the Self-Sabotage Cha-Cha? Well, you, I think, are very familiar with this. You've maybe just never heard this name because I created it. But the Self-Sabotage Cha-Cha is when we get into this cycle, feels like a hamster wheel, of taking one step forward with making healthy choices and then taking two steps right backwards, right? Feels like you're constantly like, take one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, two steps back, right? You do really well all day and then binge on ice cream at night. Or you do really well all week maybe, and then eat all the things when you go to the restaurant with your friends or family on the weekend or at a party or something, right? It's this one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, two steps back. That's why I call it the self-sabotage cha-cha. And it's something that used to be my life. And it's something that I know that so many of you are, unhappily familiar with, right? Something that many of us have been doing for decades, and it is so frustrating. And this is a question that I get all the time when people find out what I do for a living. And if this is your first time catching one of my live broadcasts, my name is Sarah Best, and I am a nutritionist, but people like to joke that I'm the nutritionist who never talks about food. And that is because what I know, it's more than just what I believe, what I know after doing this for many years and working with hundreds of clients and students around the world, is that it's really not about the food, right? I really, really believe that we don't need any more information about what to eat and what not to eat, or what the latest celebrity fad program is, right? We don't need any more information. Yes, again, I'm a nutritionist. I'm happy to talk for hours about arguing about the details about protein and carbs and all the things. And there's so many different opinions out there. And again, there is no shortage of information. I think that the missing piece of the puzzle, again, I know that the missing piece of the puzzle is in just the doing it, right? Any of these programs, whatever sort of resonates best with your lifestyle, will work for you if you stick with it consistently. And this is, I believe, where we really struggle, in the doing it consistently, in the staying on track. It's not that we don't know what to do. It's not that we need more information. It's not that we need another diet or meal plan or for someone to tell us what to eat and what not to eat. It's not even that we need more quick and healthy recipes, right? What we need is to change what's going on up here so that we can actually do what we already know and want to do, so that we can actually stick with it consistently. And so that is now entirely what I do. I really don't talk about food. I don't create recipes. I don't make meal plans. I don't do any of that with my clients. What I do is I help them reprogram and rewire what's going on up here. I help them change the old habits, the old behaviors, break through the old mindset blocks, the old thought patterns that keep them stuck in behaviors like the self-sabotage cha-cha. Okay, so that's what it is. You're all too familiar with it, right? This is probably something that you feel like you're just pulling your hair out, wanting to end. And I got you. I get you. So let's talk about what we need to do. And I'm not going to get into all the sort of neuroscience and food psychology behind it. There's a lot of that, and that's stuff that I go deep into in my other programs. But I just want to give you a little quick hit, a little tool that's going to help you, I hope, after you watch this video, moving forward with ending your self-sabotage cha-cha dance. So the thing to remember about self-sabotage is that what we often do is excuse me, phone ringing. What we immediately do when we find ourselves sort of sabotaging ourselves is we go into judgment, right? We start beating ourselves up about like, why did I do that? And why am I so weak? And why don't I have any willpower? And here I go again. And I'm never going to lose this weight. And I'm never going to be able to stay on track. And it's like this judgment spiral. And we have to stop that. Okay. First of all, it just feels awful. Who wants to, it's horrible beating yourself up all the time. Many of us have been doing it for so long that it's like second nature. We don't even really know we're doing it, but that's what we're doing. And it feels awful. Second, it actually makes things so much worse. It actually ensures that you are going to go way off the wagon, right? It actually ensures that you're going to make worse choices and that you're probably going to make them for longer and that it's going to take you longer to get back on track. And again, I won't get into all the neuroscience behind this, but suffice to say that when you beat yourself up and you feel like junk because you're beating yourself up, your brain is immediately wired to go to food to get away from that discomfort. It's just how we're wired, just like pulling your hand away from that hot stove, right? Something feels awful. Your brain is wired to get away from that and go in search of something that feels better. And for those, if you're watching this video, that for you is very likely food and not kale and apples, but probably sugar or some form of processed carbohydrates. So we know how that goes, right? We make the bad choice or we feel ourselves being pulled by the craving. We immediately go to judgment and then we're off to the races. Then we're going down that horrible shame spiral and we know how that ends. Instead, I want you to start thinking about this in a different way. I want you to change this. I want you to have a new thought, okay? When you start to feel yourself slipping, maybe you're knee deep in a bowl of ice cream, or maybe you're feeling like you're going to make a bad choice, or maybe you're at the restaurant on the weekend and you kind of see yourself rationalizing the not so healthy choice, right? That I deserve it after the week I've had, like I just need a gallon of wine, or everyone else is enjoying all this, fried food. I won't be able to have a really good time and enjoy myself with my friends and family if I don't indulge as well. We all know those repetitive rationalizing thoughts we have. I call that resistance. So when you start to feel that, instead of judging yourself, beating yourself up, doing what you normally do, I want you to think, this has nothing to do with willpower or strength of character or any of those things. What this is brain wiring. This is simple brain wiring. That's all that's going on, okay? Because what's happening when you're having those cravings or you're feeling pulled by those old behaviors is your brain is just wanting to go to the familiar. You have repeated behaviors like eating junk food on the couch at night or overindulging when you're in social situations. You have repeated behaviors like that potentially daily for maybe decades, right? You have practiced and practiced and practiced. And just as like if you practiced anything else that much, you've gotten really good at it. What's happened is you've laid down a very deep network of neural pathways in your brain around those old behaviors. And so they feel very familiar. And for your brain, familiar is wonderful because familiar is safety. That's the only thing your brain knows about things that are familiar, is that they are safe at some level. Even if you're so sick of doing it, even if you're so sick of sitting on the couch and binging, or if you're so sick of sabotaging yourself when you go out with friends, at some level, for that prehistoric part of your brain, that limbic system of your brain, it's safe because it's familiar. And so that's all that's going on. Again, I don't want to get too deep into the neuroscience here, but that's what's going on. That's what's actually happening, is it's just brain wiring. Okay, so I want you to remember that term, brain wiring. When you feel those old urges, instead of judgment, catch yourself and just think, right, Sarah was saying this is just brain wiring. That's all this is, right? This isn't that I'm weak, it isn't that I'm pathetic, isn't that I'm never gonna whatever. This is just brain wiring. Okay, that's number one, brain wiring. I'm gonna say that like 20,000 times in this video because that's what I want you to take away. This is just brain wiring. Say that today when you have a craving or an urge, okay? This is just brain wiring. Second, now that you know that this is just brain wiring, we need to shift our goal, okay, from not doing the behavior, okay, because that's usually our goal. Just don't eat the ice cream. Just don't order the nachos, right? Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, right? That's usually what we're doing. That's the goal. And how well does that work typically? Not so good, right? It's the wrong goal for a number of reasons. And again, I don't want to get too far into the weeds here. I talk about a lot of this stuff, much more detail in my programs, but it's the wrong goal for you. Instead, I want you to think this is just brain wiring. So all you have to do is short circuit that brain wiring just a little bit. So instead of having your goal be don't eat the thing, don't eat the thing, don't eat the thing, think this is just brain wiring. I just need to short circuit this brain wiring a little bit. I like to think of this as like, I always love analogies. For anybody who's followed me for a long time, my brain kind of works in analogies. So I think of like that old, the movies we've seen so many times where someone's disarming a bomb, right? The guy gets in there, the Navy SWAT guy or whatever, or woman, and they open the bomb and everybody else is like watching, and they open up the panel or whatever, and there's all those wires in there, right? And it's usually like you have to clip the red wire and but don't touch the yellow one or whatever. But it's a whole bunch of wires. And that's what's going on, right? Brain wiring. So when the bomb person, de-armor, whatever, when the Navy SWAT guy goes in there, he doesn't need to disassemble the entire bomb into 10,000 pieces, right? He doesn't need to take the whole bomb apart. He just needs to short circuit that wiring just a little bit. He just needs to clip a couple of those wires and everybody's safe. And it's the same kind of thing. I'm super oversimplifying the neuroscience here, but I'm doing that on purpose because I just want you to have this one quick tool. We just need to short circuit that wiring a little bit. Okay, that's all we need to do because that's all it is. It's just brain wiring. And so the way you do that is just by changing the habit just a little bit. And again, the goal doesn't need to be to not do it at all. So say, again, maybe your habit is doing really well all day and then binging on ice cream at night on the couch in front of the TV. So if your goal before was like, I shouldn't do that, I'm not going to snack at night, I'm not going to eat the ice cream, that's the wrong goal. Instead, it's just brain wiring. So all I need to do is short circuit that wiring a little bit. So you have a whole habit, or it's not just the ice cream, it's where you're sitting, right? You always sit in the same place, you're watching the TV, it's about the same time of day, you probably have the same kind of spoon, right? It's a habit package, I always call it. We just need to disrupt that a little bit. So it's fine, have the ice cream, but have it like in a mug with a fork, right? And maybe have a cup of peppermint tea with it while you're watching TV and doing it. So do you see what I mean? It's not about, you don't need to get rid of the whole thing. Obviously that is ultimately the goal, but that's not where we start. We don't, just like the bomb technician doesn't start by, oh, well, I'll unscrew this and I need to disassemble this entire bomb. No, it's going to explode before then. And that's what happens with our cravings. Instead, we just need to short circuit that wiring just a little bit. Okay. So we just need to cut a couple of those wires. So we just need to change up the habit package. So again, maybe it's ice cream in a mug with a fork with a cup of tea, or maybe it's ice cream on a plate while you're doing a jigsaw puzzle in the living room, right? Have the ice cream. It's okay, because when you try to take it all away and just go cold turkey, it's going to be too much for your brain. And you're going to end up just back in the self-sabotage cha-cha. Instead, just think, this is just brain wiring. That's all this is. I just need to just short circuit this wiring a little bit. And that's when we start to reprogram, break apart, dismember, rewire those old patterns and habits. Okay? I hope that's helpful. I really want you to, if you've watched this video, I want you to, as you go about your day today or tomorrow, wherever, I want you to think, whenever those urges come up, the cravings, or even when you've found yourself having already made a not so great choice, instead of slipping into judgment, I want you to think, okay, Sarah said, this is just brain wiring. That's all this is. So this time or next time, I just need to disrupt this wiring a little bit. And how can I do that? How can I just shift up this pattern, this habit, this whole habit package, just a little bit to start to break up that old wiring? And that's the path that's going to take you to freedom and really creating different habits for yourself. All right. Hope it was helpful. Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear if this is useful for you, and I will talk to you soon.